Have you ever felt watched? Not by another person, but by something ancient, something vast, something unknown. We tell ourselves stories to explain the things that brush against the edges of our understanding. We build walls of logic against the creeping fear that there's more to this world than we can see. But what happens when those walls begin to crumble? Imagine the Pacific. Not the postcard beaches, but the crushing, ink-black depths miles offshore, off the coast of New South Wales, Australia. A realm where sunlight fails and pressure mounts with every fathom. Fishermen venture into these waters, chasing legends of marlin and swordfish, tangling with the raw power of sharks. But in March of 2019, one fisherman reeled in a nightmare. A 550-pound mako shark. A formidable predator reduced to a head. Severed cleanly, brutally, as if by an impossibly large bite. The body gone. Vanished without a trace. Pictures surfaced, spreading like a cold current across the internet. A monstrous wound, a gaping void where the rest of the shark should have been. It wasn't just the size of the bite that chilled people. It was the implication. What creature possesses the strength, the ferocity, to dismantle a shark of that magnitude? The whispers began. A sea monster. A relic of a forgotten age. It sounds like folklore, doesn't it? A tale spun to frighten children. But the truth is, this wasn't the first unexplained encounter in those waters. For nearly 2 decades, scientists have been subtly, persistently, searching for something extraordinary. It began in 2003 with the CSIRO, Australia's leading scientific organization. They were tracking great white sharks, meticulously mapping their movements with satellite tags. They tagged 5 sharks, but one, designated Shark Alpha, captured their attention. 9, maybe 10 feet long, a titan of the ocean. 2 months later, the signal changed. Shark Alpha was being hunted. The tag showed it plummeting, descending rapidly to the edge of the continental shelf, 2,000 feet down. And then silence. Or rather, not silence. The signal remained stable, unwavering. But the temperature reading was impossible. 72 degrees Fahrenheit. At that depth, the tag wasn't transmitting from the open ocean. It was inside something. Something warm-blooded. Something colossal. Think about the scale of that. A great white shark, entirely consumed. The internal dimensions required to achieve that, it defies comprehension. It strays into the realm of myth. It forces us to confront a terrifying possibility. What if something truly enormous, something we thought existed only in legends, swims in the unexplored abyss? But the anomalies didn't stop there. Something else was stirring beneath the surface, something that seemed to be terrifying other marine life. In 2023, a pod of pilot whales beached themselves along the coast of Western Australia. Not in the scattered, disoriented way we often see, but huddled together, desperately trying to escape something. Rescuers managed to guide some back into the water, only to watch them immediately return to shore, driven by an unseen terror. Pilot whales are social creatures. They travel in pods, and they have strength in numbers. They don't beach themselves because of a regular great white shark. That wouldn't elicit that kind of panicked, unified response. But what if they were fleeing something 60, 70 feet long? Something that instilled primal fear. Is there a predator lurking in the oceans that we haven't even begun to imagine. And then there's the story of Malaysia Airlines Flight 370. 22 passengers, 12 crew. A routine flight from Kuala Lumpur to Beijing, March 8, 2014. Everything appeared normal. The plane climbed, leveled off, and then vanished. One moment, a clear signal. The next, nothing. A complete communications blackout. Air traffic control frantically tried to re-establish contact, but only silence answered their calls. Military radar picked up a signal, but it painted a baffling picture. The plane made a sharp, 90-degree turn, veering off course and disappearing into the vast expanse of the Indian Ocean. For hours it flew on, deviating wildly from its intended path, as if guided by an unseen hand. The most extensive search and rescue operation in aviation history was launched, but yielded almost nothing. Debris began to wash ashore, fragments of the aircraft scattered across thousands of miles of ocean. But the main wreckage, the black boxes, the answers, remained elusive. One crucial clue emerged from the plane's ACARS system, a satellite-based reporting system designed to transmit maintenance data. Even after the plane went dark, the ACARS system continued to ping, sending out signals. These signals revealed a shocking truth. The plane didn't crash where it was last detected. It continued to fly for 6 more hours, to a remote, desolate corner of the Indian Ocean. A place where there was nowhere to land. The initial theory pointed to pilot suicide, but investigators found no evidence to support it. The pilot had no history of mental illness, no warning signs. Mechanical failure was another possibility, a catastrophic event that incapacitated the crew and left the plane to wander aimlessly until it ran out of fuel. But that didn't explain the deliberate maneuvers, the precise turns, the extended flight path. Hijacking? Perhaps. But a thorough investigation of all passengers and crew revealed no connections to terrorist groups or any motive for such an act. The truth is, we're left with more questions than answers. We have fragments of evidence, tantalizing clues, but no definitive explanation. The cockpit voice recorder remains at the bottom of the ocean, a silent witness to the events of that fateful night. But consider this: a piece of the wing, unequivocally identified as belonging to MH370, washed up on the shores of Madagascar over a year and a half after the disappearance. It had traveled thousands of miles, carried by the relentless currents of the Indian Ocean. 17 months. That's how long it took for a piece of that plane to reach land. The mystery endures, a haunting reminder of the vastness of the unknown. Now let's shift our focus to a different kind of mystery, a different kind of fear. To the dark, brooding forests of southern New Jersey. The Pine Barrens. 1,000,000 acres of dense woodland, a primeval landscape where shadows dance and secrets hide. You can get lost in the Pine Barrens, swallowed by the trees, and never be seen again. The air is thick with the scent of pine needles and damp earth. The sounds of the forest are amplified in the darkness. Every rustle of leaves, every snap of a twig becomes a potential threat. And according to local legend, there is a threat. A winged creature, a grotesque monster known as the Jersey Devil. The legend is deeply ingrained in New Jersey folklore, a story every child grows up hearing. A warning whispered in the darkness. The Jersey Devil is said to possess a terrifying screech, a bone-chilling roar that sends shivers down your spine. Its appearance is equally horrifying. A horse's head with horns, a dragon-like body, bat-like wings, and cloven hooves. A nightmare given form. The story dates back to 1735, to a woman known as Mother Leeds. She was said to have given birth to her 13th child, and according to legend, it was no ordinary baby. As she cried out, "Let the devil take it," the child transformed into a monstrous creature, flying up the chimney and disappearing into the pine barrens. Skeptics dismissed the story as mere folklore. But the tales persisted, fueled by alleged sightings and encounters. In the early 1800s, a decorated naval officer claimed to have fired a cannon at the Jersey Devil, even shooting a hole through its wing. Commodore Stephen Decatur, a war hero, publicly recounted his encounter. When someone of his stature comes forward with such a story, it lends a strange weight to the legend. What connects these stories? A shark ripped apart by something unseen, a plane vanishing into the depths, a creature of legend haunting the forests. They are all stories about the limits of our understanding, about the things that lie beyond the reach of our knowledge. They are reminders that the world is still full of mysteries, and that sometimes the things we fear most are the things we don't understand. Perhaps the ocean's depths hold creatures beyond our wildest imagination. Perhaps the vastness of space contains forces we can scarcely comprehend. Perhaps even on our own planet, in the shadowed corners of the wilderness, there are beings that defy categorization. These stories aren't about proving the existence of monsters. They're about acknowledging the possibility of the unknown. They're about recognizing that our perception of reality is limited, and that there are forces at play in the world that we may never fully grasp. The real monster isn't lurking in the shadows. It's the arrogance of believing we have all the answers. It's the complacency of thinking we've mapped every corner of the earth, charted every creature in the sea, and understood every force in the universe. So the next time you look out at the ocean, or gaze up at the night sky, or walk through a dark forest, remember that there is still so much we don't know. Embrace the mystery. Allow yourself to wonder. And never underestimate the power of the unseen world. Because sometimes, the greatest discoveries are made not by those who seek answers, but by those who dare to ask the questions.